Jesus just said what? Verse 34 of our Gospel reading has Jesus saying rather surprisingly, "Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword." Surely that's got to be wrong. It's so out of character, both for Jesus and for that matter for God. For goodness sake, this is the Jesus I'd have foretold would be the Prince of Peace. The Jesus who said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." The Jesus who was going to tell his disciples in the upper room, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." Just for the moment, I'm going to park that uncomfortable thought, and let's talk about something completely different. There are some universal questions which never seem to go away, such as, what am I going to do? Or, what am I going to be? We ask children, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then smile at their answers, whether mundane or ambitious. But does anyone ever spell out the inevitable negatives for them? Maybe they want to be a doctor. This takes 7 years training before qualifying. That's 5 at university and 2-year foundation programme. And then more training if they're going to become a GP or a registrar or consultant. Then as a doctor, you'll be required to make life and death decisions in the face of real uncertainty. Inevitably, some of the calls you make will be wrong, and you're going to have to somehow live with it. Then there's a constant risk of being sued if the patient outcome is bad, whether or not it's your fault. If you can't cope with that, maybe the medical profession isn't the thing for you. Some might aspire to being a professional footballer or a dancer. Success here requires talent and hard work, but also a significant amount of luck. Then you're going to be prone to physical injury, putting you out of action for quite a while. Then remember, the average retirement age for both of these careers just happens to be 35. So you need to plan a follow-on career. If you can't cope with that, maybe these very physical professions aren't the thing for you. Some might relish the adventure, professionalism and camaraderie of the armed forces. But then there's every likelihood you'll be in a position where people are trying to harm you, firing shots at you or setting off bombs. You in turn will be expected to fire on them, to injure or kill real human beings. Could you live with that? Then the conflicts you are sent to may not be the ones you would have chosen yourself. If you can't cope with all that, maybe being in the armed forces isn't the thing for you. Others may want some sort of leadership role. But if you're a leader, you can't expect everyone to like you. There will always be some people who think you're wrong. Then being human, you will make mistakes. And because you're a leader, some of these mistakes will be very public. To mature as a leader, you need to own your own failures and learn from them and from the people around you. If you can't cope with that, then maybe being a leader isn't the thing for you. For all their negatives, each of these can be honourable and aspirational professions. But should discipleship also carry a health warning? In the reading, Jesus tells his disciples they need to take up the cross if they're to follow him. To us today that feels like a very remote metaphor. We just nod agreement and think no more of it. So what might discipleship require in today's world? From my own experience and from looking at the world around, I've compiled my own list. Expect to be dismissed as being embarrassingly or perhaps dangerously naive. In these days of science explains everything, belief in God looks distinctly outdated. Prayer is dismissed as childishly talking to an imaginary friend. And so many conflicts have taken place under the banner of religion that is embarrassing. Then expect people to misconstrue your altruism and to look for ulterior motives. These are not necessarily malicious people. In their worldview, altruism doesn't compute, and they can't rest easy until they can pin a self-interest on your actions. Then expect serious opposition if your quest for truth and justice challenges vested interests. Witness the career-limiting treatment of whistleblowers in industry and the health service. Witness opposition faced by campaigners for social justice and environmental responsibility. Then remember, you can't necessarily expect your family and friends to understand how you feel and why you do what you do. If you can't cope with these, then maybe being a disciple of Jesus isn't the thing for you. It's almost got to the point where if you claim that your life as a Christian is all plain sailing, I'm starting to wonder whether you might not be a Christian at all. So far it all looks like negatives, so where are the positives? If you're ridiculed and insulted for being a Christian, it absolutely does not mean you've got it wrong. While at a human level it's bound to feel uncomfortable, given that Jesus suffered that and so much more, it's no more than you could have expected. Just don't let it faze you. If you make a stand for what's right and good, and are met with either apathy or outright opposition, maybe that's just the spiritual forces of evil that Paul talks about in his letters. But remember, we have a greater power at our disposal, even though it won't always be apparent. Ultimately, to choose Jesus as a way of life is to embrace life itself. His life beyond earthly life is ours to claim too. Remember that when Simeon blessed the baby Jesus, he told Mary, "This child is destined for the falling and rising of many in Israel, and to be a sign that will be opposed, so that the inner thoughts of many will be revealed. And a sword will pierce your own soul too." Notice that same word, sword, that we had at the start. To be a part of Jesus' family, that could apply to us as well. If living the Christian life forces us into situations we might not be comfortable with, we are in good company. In fact, we're in the best of all possible company, the company of Jesus himself.